So they couldn't figure it out. They couldn't figure it out, couldn't figure it out. He said, if you can't tell me the answer, you have to give me 30 outfits of clothing. And so they say, oh, we're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out. Well, they can't figure it out. So finally they go to his new wife and beg, you've got to have him tell us. You've got to have him tell us. If you don't, we'll burn you and your father's household to death. Why did you invite us here if he's going to tell us a riddle we can't figure out and it's just robbing us of all these fine clothes that we have? And Samson tells her, well, then she goes back and tells them, and they tell him, oh, we know the answer. And he says, you know the answer because you got that information from my wife. But he uses some very interesting words that when he talks to them. So when you read it, you're going to be interested to see what he calls her and what he calls them. The Spirit of the Lord came upon him in power, and he went down to Ashkelon, struck down 30 of their men, stripped them of their belongings, and gave their clothes to those who had explained the riddle. Burning with an anger, he went to his father's house, and Samson's wife was given to the friend who was attending him at the wedding. So later on, at the time of the wheat harvest, Samson took a young goat and went to visit his wife. He said, I'm going to go to my wife's room, but her father would not let her go in. I thought you hated her, so I let her marry someone else. So he gets so upset. He takes 300 foxes, ties them tail to tail, and fastens torches to the pair of them, to each pair, and sends them just to light fire to all the Philistines' wheat fields. Well, the Philistines are mad now, and they're coming after the Israelites. So the men of Judah come over to Samson and say, we've got to get rid of you because they're after us. So they go to tie him up, and he's like, are you going to kill me yourselves? And they said, no, we're going to tie you up and take you to the Philistines, and they'll kill you. And he says, that's fine. So they tie him up, take him over to the Philistines, and when Samson gets there, he breaks open the ties that are on him, and he grabs a donkey's jawbone. Again, touching something dead when he's a Nazarite, and he's not supposed to do that. He takes the donkey's jawbone, and he kills 1,000 men with this jawbone of a donkey. So Samson became what we call a judge, even though he wasn't a judge like we would think of at a courthouse. He's in the book of Judges, and he is more of a ruler over Israel, defender. He becomes their defender for 20 years. Sometime later, he falls in love with a woman named Delilah. So the Philistines go to her and say, we need to find out the source of his strength. So as you're having your time with him each night, will you go ahead and try and find out what his source of strength is? She says, okay. So every night she'll ask him a question. What is your source of strength? And he'll say, oh, if I'm only tied with brand new ropes that have never been used to tie anything, then I will be weak as a baby. So she ties him up with that once he falls asleep and says, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. And he wakes up and he bursts through the ropes. Well, the Philistines are hiding each time. Then the next time he talks to her again, and then he says, if my hair is woven into a rug, then I won't have any strength left, and anybody will be able to overtake me. And so while he falls asleep, she weaves his hair into a rug. And then she says, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. And he wakes up and breaks the rug loom and everything, and he's not weak again. So finally he tells her, and he says, because I've been a Nazarite, set apart by God since my birth, no razor has ever touched my head. If my hair were to be shaved off, I would be as weak as a baby. So he goes to sleep, and she shaves off his head. And then she cries, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. And he gets up, and he's not strong anymore. And in that moment, when she cut off his hair, the Lord was no longer with him. Very, very interesting, very confusing story, because he pretty much acts like a spoiled brat from the moment he's born, it appears, and does everything he's not supposed to do, yet the Lord uses him through all of this. And finally, when his head is shaven, the Lord's like, I'm gone. So the Philistines seize him and take him. They gouge out his eyes. Binding him with bronze shackles, they set him to grinding in the prison. But his hair was growing. Well, they decide to have a big feast to their idol. So he is taken there to the temple where they're all having the celebration. And he tells the person leading him there, put me against the pillars of the temple so I can lean on them for support. Then Samson prayed to the Lord, "O sovereign Lord, remember me. O God, please strengthen me just one more time and let me get revenge on the Philistines for my 2 eyes." Then Samson reached toward the 2 pillars on his left and his right, and he shoves them out. And the whole temple comes down, the 3,000 people on the roof, all the people inside, Samson himself, their temple destroyed.